This is the high-functioning exterior, someone who handles the office, social obligations, and the household without visible friction. To an observer, every gear turns perfectly. Inside, the experience is different. Even as the external actions continue, the internal response has stalled. There is a sense of a missing component, an emotional silence that persists regardless of the environment. This state exists as a flat neutrality. Pain and fear are absent, replaced by a vacuum where feelings used to register. It is the experience of watching your own life happen from a distance. Why does the mind shut off its emotional receptors when the external life is, by all accounts, successful? Psychology identifies this emptiness as a biological system powering down. It is an adaptation where the brain reduces its internal output to protect the organism from its current environment. You might be physically present at a lively dinner or a crowded meeting, but the internal connection is completely severed. You are observing the room from behind a thick pane of glass, processing data but not feeling the atmosphere. This schematic shows the mechanism of emotional blunting. When the brain senses a state of chronic overwhelm, it functions like a circuit breaker. It forces these nodes to dim to a sustainable level. By lowering the emotional volume, the brain attempts to prevent a total burnout. It is an automated decision to reduce internal strain by limiting how much of the world you are allowed to feel. This low-power mode preserves the ability to function. You can still answer emails and hold conversations because the brain has removed the exhausting friction of emotional highs and lows. The resulting numbness is a trade-off. The brain chooses a lack of feeling to ensure the survival of the rest of the system. This shutdown changes how you perceive your own history and major achievements. You reach a major goal and wait for the expected wave of pride. Instead, there is nothing. You simply move to the next task on the list. This chart tracks the relationship between effort and internal reward. The top line is your consistent output. The bottom line is the dopamine your brain releases in response. Under constant pressure, the brain stops registering these rewards. The receptors become calloused. This reward desensitization means that no matter the scale of the achievement, the chemical payoff no longer arrives. This same callousness spreads to hobbies and simple pleasures. Experiences that were once stimulating become totally predictable. As the novelty fades, the brain produces a weaker and weaker emotional response until the activity feels mechanical. Your hobbies haven't lost their value. Your brain has simply exhausted its supply of reward chemicals and is now prioritizing conservation over enjoyment. The most subtle sign of this state is the loss of anticipation. You plan a trip or a milestone, but the mental image fails to spark any excitement. The future looks as flat as the present. Usually, the brain generates energy by predicting future pleasure. These predictive spikes on the timeline are what we feel as excitement. After enough disappointment or overwork, the brain stops projecting these spikes. It enters future reward prediction fatigue, refusing to spend emotional energy on an event that hasn't happened yet. This often happens because your daily efforts don't match your internal values. You are moving, but you are moving in a direction that your brain doesn't recognize as meaningful. This misalignment makes every task feel unfinished and draining. The brain cancels future excitement to audit its remaining resources. It is fiercely protecting the last of its energy by rejecting any effort that doesn't yield a significant internal return. These symptoms, the numbness, the lack of reward, and the flat future, are not glitches. They are the components of a unified strategy. Your brain is applying the brakes because it has been exposed to too much repetition and too much pressure with too little meaning. Emptiness is a shield. It is a protective layer the mind builds when life demands high output while providing a low sense of identity alignment. The absence of feeling is the most direct signal the brain can send to indicate that the current path is unsustainable. If you feel empty while your life looks fine, you are not broken, you are exhausted. The solution isn't to fix a malfunction, but to acknowledge the exhaustion and begin a realignment of your actions with your values.